first commission meeting of the year. We appreciate you guys being here tonight. If I could get everybody to stand for the pledge and remain standing for the invocation. Pledge allegiance.
For entrusting us with your town. I ask that you give us your wisdom and discernment to help us make the best decisions for our town citizens. And we honor you in all we say this evening. In your glorious name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
All right, guys, just a few housekeeping items here. If you come up and speak, could you please just try to speak into the mic direct? That we would really appreciate that, because what happens is the town clerk goes back through, it gets the minutes, and she can hear and she can't hear some people. That would be the same for us guys on the table, if you could. We would appreciate that. We're going to move on to roll call now. Elise, you ready?
Yes. Commissioner McMullen, Commissioner Ramos,
Present.
Vice Mayor Satterfield, Mayor Taylor.
Here. All right. So sure. All right.
Can everybody hear me? Is mine working? Hello? Yes? No? Okay, cool. All right, it's the first of the year, and there's been so much going around that I thought it was appropriate to prepare this statement. So I will read it as I had written it. My name, as you know, is Mike Satterfield. I've been your town commissioner, vice mayor for 27 years now, with 3 or 4 more years on various boards and committees. I've given 3 decades of service to this town, and it has been my honor. Those of you that know me personally know my passion for this town and that I would never do anything to hurt its reputation. I love our town. It is my home. There have been and still are several false accusations thrown out there in the past year or so that are completely untrue. I'll clarify them for you now, and this will be my only statement on the matter, and I will consider the matter closed, period. I have been accused of not living in this town, falsifying documents, and literally stealing from the town, and falsely claiming homestead exemption here, cheating the town out of even more money. Let me assure you they are all false statements. First, Oakland has been my residence since 1995. That is when I filed a homestead and registered to vote, and that has not changed to this day. It has always been my home and my heart, and it's always been my intention that this is where I will end up the rest of my life. I have never hid the fact that my businesses are in Brevard County or that I have multiple homes in Brevard County. That has been true all of my life before I even came here. I have always been very open about that. The statement that they only come to town for meetings and photo ops and that my truck is only seen here on Tuesday nights for meetings is amazingly untrue. I'm home every week regardless of meetings. That is unless I'm on vacation and out of state. I also have interests in North Carolina, again, of which I have never hid. I meet with the town manager weekly. I ride the town with Mike Parker, discuss what's happening in town regularly. I am always at the school, as it is one of my responsibilities, of which I love, by the way. All of this can be confirmed by that town staff. You see, there is a lot more to our jobs than simply attending meetings and showing up for a photo op. As for the financial accusations, any reasonable person that looked at my personal information that has been spread across social media and such will also come to the conclusion that with all my properties and businesses, I certainly don't need the money or the health insurance provided by this town. As a matter of fact, I have suggested several times over the years that the 5 of us should really do away with the pay. I serve our town out of sheer passion. And finally, as to my homestead exemption, it doesn't even enter into the picture of my commission seat. I would homestead here whether I was vice mayor or not. This is my home. Just in case I have not made this fact clear yet, I live in Oakland. That could not be any clearer. The town residents, I thank you for believing in me all these years. Your support has always been incredible. I promise you I will always do my best for you as long as I hold the seat. You are the ones who have kept me here for over 25 years, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate you. Lastly, Shane, I know you can't stop folks from speaking their piece. None of us can. However, I am asking you to get involved in talking to people that seem to be spreading information that is tearing this town apart. Please help bring us back together as one. You have a lot of influence and your words mean a lot to folks here. Please use that and try to show people that we are all in this together, and elections are the time for making changes if deemed necessary. I would appreciate any help you can give to this effort. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for the last 3 decades. And as I said before, I promise as long as I'm here, I will do the very best of my ability. For that, Shane, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike. Real quick, if you got a copy of the agenda items, we've moved a few things around on the agenda. You'll notice, public forum, we moved that towards the back of the, agenda. So, we'll have that. It's just towards the, tail end of the meeting tonight. Just to try to get you to stick around till the end. Let's start with proclamations and presentations. We've got 4 of them on the sheet tonight. So first is presentations, and it's Trees of the Season decorating contest winner. We had a lot of great trees, I thought, this year. Phenomenal turnout as usual. I don't know why we just don't expand it to bigger. No. Okay. Are you doing this? Sure. Len. Okay. Please, Len, come on up.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so for those of you who do know, thank you so much if you did come and visit our trees this year. This was our 4th annual Trees of the Season event. We had 16 trees, and I think the best trees ever. We had such a great turnout. I have a few stats to give you. We had an opening event on November 16th, in which we had 223 people attend just that one day to see the trees and vote. The Trees of the Season event went from November 16th through January 4th, and we had a total of 2,288 visitors during that time. And of those, we had a record number of votes of 1,267 votes. It was actually a pretty close contest. The top 4 teams, it could have been anybody's ball game, but I'm proud to say that we have declared a winner. If you follow us on Facebook, you can see pictures of the trees, see the winners, and we also chose some honorable mentions this year because we just had so many fantastic trees. But our winner is here tonight, and the first place went to Atlas Injury to Health Chiropractic, who had a phenomenal tree. If you came to visit, it was the train tree. It was really awesome. And Dr. St. Louis is here, as well as Lou Lambros, who crafted the tree and did an amazing job. They are going to be a recipient of a sponsorship. For the first time ever, we had a local Oakland company choose to sponsor the event, and they were going to sponsor the winner with the $250 cash prize. And they are here tonight to do that, and that is Jimmy and Elizabeth Klein from Refinement Auto Detailing. They are a local business in Oakland. And as awesome as it is that they are sponsoring the event, they also are adding a little bit more to it. And I'm going to let Lou or Dr. St. Louis come up. Jimmy is going to present him the check, and then he has a little surprise. This is what you get from the town of Oakland, this awesome plaque that we have engraved. And the company that I ordered from even threw in a little Christmas tree ornament that you can put on next year's tree.
Perfect.
Yes. So, Dr. St. Louis, you want to come?
Thank you for the awesome award here. Couldn't have done it without Lou because he was the mastermind behind the whole tree. But what we've decided to do with the 250 is donate it back to Oakland Parks, Oakland Nature Preserve. And then our sponsor is adding an additional 150, so it's a total of $400 that we're donating back.
And if I could just say, that's what community is all about, and that's the reason why we do this event.
All right. Thanks, Lynn, and congratulations. It's a great tree. I know every time I was up in the History Center, just every kid gravitated to that tree. It was the train. The train's what put it over the top. So out of the box thinking, very, very good for that. So I voted for the big tree in the middle of the fountain. I don't know if anybody else voted that way. That's what I voted for. Okay, moving on to proclamations. The first proclamation we have is Martin Luther King Jr. Day for January 20th, 2025. Whereas the town of Oakland celebrated its diverse community and honors Martin Luther King Jr.'s beliefs and valuing individuals for their commitment to creating a better life for all through service. And whereas Dr. King's legacy of peace, justice, equality, and service inspires us to build a world free from prejudice and injustice. And whereas his dream of unity and social justice encourages us to strengthen our community through acts of service, such as volunteering, aiding those in need, or environmental stewardship. And whereas the town of Oakland joins communities nationwide in honoring Dr. King's ideals. Now, therefore, I, Shane Taylor, Mayor of the town of Oakland, proclaim January 20th, 2025 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Oakland. I urge all citizens to reflect on Dr. King's principles of equality and justice and celebrate this by embracing his mission of service through projects benefiting our community. A day on, not a day off. There we go. There's that one. And I think also just the town is closed on Monday, the 20th, just so everybody knows. Next one, we have Town of Oakland School Choice Week. Whereas all children in the town of Oakland should have access to quality education, and whereas education is essential for preparing students to be successful adults and supports the economic vitality of the town, and whereas Orange County offers a variety of public and non-public schools along with homeschooling options, and whereas educational variety diversifies the economy and enriches the community, and whereas Oakland is home to many dedicated teaching professionals across all school settings, and whereas School Choice Week raises awareness nationwide about the need for effective educational options. Now, therefore, I, Shane Taylor, on behalf of the Town of Oakland Commission, do hereby recognize January 26th through February 1st, 2025 as School Choice Week, and I call this observance to the attention of all our citizens. And the last is the Town of Oakland Celebrate Literacy Week. Whereas the week of January 27th through January 31st, 2025 is designated by the Florida Department of Education as Celebrate Literacy Week in the state of Florida. And whereas the Celebrate Literacy Week Florida 2025 theme is building literacy, constructing the foundations for success. And whereas a mission of the public school is to prepare all students for the 21st century by becoming literate thinkers, writers, and readers in all facets of life. And whereas the Oakland Avenue Charter School has an intense focus on student achievement, and whereas literacy prepares students to become independent readers and thinkers who can construct and apply knowledge, and whereas literacy enables students to become productive adults who can compete globally and can contribute positively to society. Now, therefore, I, Shane Taylor, by virtue of authority vested in me as the mayor of the town of Oakland, Florida, on behalf of the entire town commission, do hereby proclaim the week of January 27th through January 31st, 2025 in the town of Oakland, Celebrate Literacy Week. Any applause? I mean, that was 3 in a row. 3 in a row. All right. Resolutions. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry, I went down I should be looking at the real paper, not my iPad. Okay, consent agenda. So on our consent agenda tonight are the meetings from our 12/10/24 Town Commission regular meeting. our contract for legal services with the town attorney, and then our municipal interlocal agreement for mutual aid with various law enforcement agencies. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
The motion to accept consent agenda as presented.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, all right. Now we move to resolutions. We're looking resolution 2025-01.
Resolution 2025-01 is a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Oakland, Florida, approving resolutions for extension of credit and incumbency certificate, making findings and providing for an effective date.
Okay, anyone talking about this? Andy? Or Michael, I'm sorry, Andy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Town Commission. The item before you is simply a housekeeping item to where we need a signature, somebody that can conduct business with PNC Bank. That is the bank that holds the bond for the Oakland Area Charter School. So it's just simply housekeeping. The mayor did come into the office yesterday, and I'll go ahead and recommended that we add 2 more signatures and people that can execute conduct business on behalf of the town, so we'll probably add myself along with the manager of the execute. Town staff recommends approval of the proposed agenda item with PNC Bank.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Any questions, comments?
No.
Are you hearing none?
If I,
Oh, sorry.
my apologies, still getting used to the mic system. With those additional individuals that are going to be added, it was Elise and Andy, correct? I would suggest that the motion be to approve the resolution with those changes, with the additional designations of Andy and Elise as individuals who are named in the contract who can do business on behalf of the town.
Perfect. Okay. So no questions or comments. We'll entertain a motion, please.
To accept resolution 2025-01, adding Andy and Elise for signing off.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? All right. Okay, moving on to resolution 2025-02.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution 25-02 establishes a monthly service charge for solid waste collection in the town of Oakland. I'm going to yield to Nathan Brown, the Assistant Public Works Director, to read the background and present this item. And at least I guess
I'll just read it real quick. This is Resolution 2025-02, a resolution of the Town of Oakland, Florida pursuant to Chapter 42-23 of the Town Code of Ordinances relating to solid waste in the Town of Oakland and establishing a monthly service charge for solid waste collection and recycling service as set by resolution and providing for an effective date.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council. So this is in regards to solid waste collection from last month. And just to read the background, on July 26, 2024 and August 22nd, 2024, members of the Solid Waste Advisory Group met to review the proposals for solid waste collection. The group reviewed the proposals and ranked them based on letter of interest, qualification, scope, summary, total fees, and references. The group discussed the pros and cons and gave their top selections. October 22nd, 2024, the Town Commission selected Waste Pro Florida Incorporated as its town's new solid waste provider. The town will be changing to once a week pickup effective February 1st, 2025, and providing town branded rolling trash carts, trash and recycle carts. The town will need to adopt rates consistent with the rates received in the bid documents. Town staff is recommending an automatic rate increase of 4% October of each year to cover the costs of increases related to CPI and or changes of the tipping fees over the life of the contract with Waste Pro. The resolution also provides for a 4% admin fee in addition to the bid amounts received by Waste Pro to cover the town's administrative costs associated with the billing, customer service, and administering the solid waste collection for the town. The proposed resolution and rates will take effective February 1st, 2025, and the staff recommends approval of resolution 2025-02, establishing a monthly service charge for solid waste collection in the town of Oakland.
All right, thanks, Nathan. Any questions from anyone? No? Okay. We'll make a motion.
Resolution 2025-02.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Okay. Moving on to, and I'm sorry, Nathan, let's just talk trash that gets started when?
So that would be February 1st. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but today we actually received our first couple trucks worth of trash carts. They'll be staging them until the week before February 1st, and they'll start delivering them. And we'll be rolling out more information in the upcoming 2 weeks as regards to, the trash cans, the rollout, the schedule.
Okay. And I was talking to Andy the other day about this week about this and in your exhibit A for the schedule for rate schedule for that. I believe that rate schedule starts at $25.58 a month for that service, correct? Is what I
Yes.
have. And
Yes.
then you got your 4% administration fee, which is another $1.02. So total per month that people will see on their bill would be $26.60 a month. Is that
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah.
Yeah. right? Okay. All right. Just so everybody is heads up, when you start seeing that.
It'll actually, and just kind of paperwork on it, it'll be a half charge, a prorated charge, if I understand correctly, and then a full charge the next month. So it'll kind of incrementally come in just because of the billing cycles.
1330. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is ordinances. And this is discussion of an emergency ordinance 2025-01. And Elise?
This is emergency ordinance 2025-01, an emergency ordinance of the town of Oakland, Florida, making legislative findings, declaring a state of emergency affecting public welfare, providing for applicability and purpose, providing for procedures to apply for insurance coverage for the payment of attorney's fees and costs related to ethics complaint, providing for limitation of liability, providing for provision of legal services by town attorney or designee and reimbursement of reasonable attorney fees and costs, providing for reservation of certain section numbers, and providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
All right, great. Stephanie, are you presenting?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Mayor and members of the Town Commission. The purpose of this emergency ordinance is to set forth procedures which would govern in the event that a town official determines that he is in need of the assistance of an attorney to respond to and defend against a complaint that has been filed with the Florida Commission on Ethics. Now, the Supreme Court of Florida has established that public officials are entitled to legal representation at taxpayer expense when defending themselves against litigation arising out of their public duties and serving a public purpose, and that such entitlement is a common law right that exists independent of any statute, ordinance, or charter. So to sum that all up, the right to compensation for reasonable attorney's fees exists in these cases, regardless of whether you adopt an ordinance providing that right or not. The ordinance before you tonight does not provide any right to compensation for attorney's fees. It simply provides procedures which would govern in the event that such a claim arises. This allows the town to essentially get out ahead of such a claim. We can alert our insurance company and our insurance defense counsel as to the existence of a potential claim, and we can have some say in which attorney might represent a commissioner, which could have some bearing on the overall cost.
Okay, thanks. We'll start here first at the table and then we'll open it up to the public. And does anybody on the table have any questions or comments for Stephanie?
Yeah, I have a question. So if there's a ethics complaint towards one of the commissioners, and the way I read it was also officials or staff,
Yes.
will you represent, the town attorney represent us past this ordinance?
At the first instance, the ordinance requires that the potential claim be forwarded to the town's insurance carrier, and the insurance carrier can determine at that time whether or not it wants to appoint insurance defense counsel. If the carrier appoints insurance defense counsel, we can certainly work with them. And if the insurance carrier denies the claim, then it essentially moves to the town attorney's office. And we would, within our discretion, either represent the commissioner or designate an attorney to represent the commissioner.
And after you designate an attorney, if it gets to that case, who pays for that attorney?
That would come out of the town's budget.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I've got a couple, Stephanie. So, and again, this is strictly business, everybody. This is not a personal issue here. It's strictly business. So a few questions I have is, why does a complaint to the Florida Commission on Ethics constitute an emergency order if a person's got that? Why are we in this situation where we have to pass an emergency ordinance if it already protects the person already and it's already been established that, you know, regardless of what you do, depending on what you find, you're going to get covered by the taxpayer. And I'm not asking you to speak on specifics of what that complaint was. I don't believe that's between attorney-client privilege. But I guess my problem with this is that we're setting this up as an emergency ordinance. I don't believe it's an emergency. I don't believe it's an emergency ordinance. When I think of an emergency ordinance, I think of something like a natural disaster. You know, that would constitute an emergency ordinance. So I guess that would be a question is why are we doing this, and who determined that this needs to be an emergency situation?
Well, the question of who determines that it is an emergency or not, that is up to you. That's a finding that is set forth in the ordinance should you choose to adopt and approve it. Speaking more generally about why the matter of an ethics complaint could result in an emergency, I will just say generally, without discussing anything that could be covered by attorney-client privilege, that if a complaint were filed right now without this ordinance in effect, the town doesn't have any right to demand advance notice of that claim and potentially would lose out on the ability to loop in the insurance carrier.
Okay, but if the person gets a complaint and you get notification, obviously, that there's a complaint been filed against you, at that point, that person would bring it to the town. They would bring it to the town, would forward it to the town attorney. At that point, isn't at that time that's enough notice to sit there and say, how do you want to handle this? Do we need to notify our insurance carrier that, hey, this complaint's been filed? And I believe looking through your notes here, there's a certain time period. You have an outline on how that whole process works. So, you know, and this is not just direct Stephanie, but everybody here sitting on the table. But, you know, isn't that enough notice to tell the insurance carrier, hey, I've gotten this, stand by, this could go?
In that case, you would essentially have one commissioner asking the town staff or town attorney or whoever it may be to forward a claim to the insurance carrier without the knowledge or consent of the rest of the town commission. It just leads to a more confusing set of facts that I fear could only be worked out in litigation. And that is one of the things that we hope to avoid by adopting these procedures.
So do we need an ordinance to loop in the insurance? And this is what we're trying to do. Procedure.
Sitting here right now without all of the insurance documents before me, I couldn't answer that question. But I can speak generally and say that the earlier that you do loop in insurance, the better chance that they're going to cover your claim or not deny coverage of your claim.
My
And-
fear is if you go through and we start getting emergency ordinances like this, which again, I don't believe it's an emergency. What's to stop somebody else from coming in, a developer or whatever, saying, I need this passed right away. It needs to be an emergency ordinance. Well, you passed this one. You're kind of painting with a broad liberal brush, right? I feel this ordinance does, in that, we open ourselves up for other instances, you know? So That would be the other, another reason, I'd have it. And, depending on what this ethics complaint is, I mean, I'm sure the state's going to do their investigation if that's what they do. But, you had asked, I think there was something brought up about ethics complaints. And when I think of an ethics complaint, I think of, you're taking a bribe from someone, or you're talking about, what you're not supposed to be talking about town business when you're sitting around. So again, not going into the detail, I have a hard time approving this.
With this being said, I have a question.
Yep.
So help me walk through this. We need something like this in place?
Without something like this in place, if a commissioner has a complaint filed against them, they could theoretically go out, get their own attorney at $500 an hour, incur huge amounts of attorney's fees, and then come to us at the end of the day saying, hey, I have this large bill that's due. Please, can you cut me a check? And so, while we may not need it, it gives us the ability to have some discretion with what's going to happen at the beginning of when an ethics complaint is filed. It also provides that if a commissioner fails to abide by the procedures, that commissioner is no longer entitled to compensation for attorney's fees. So there is some benefit in the town in that it will not have to compensate commissioners or employees or whoever the case may be when the procedure is not followed.
We don't do emergency ordinance.
What's the exposure?
No, hold on. What's the options? If we don't do our emergency ordinance, we still, in this environment, we need two parts. In this environment, we're in a litigious environment. So in this environment, we need some kind of ordinance like. So what's the other? And I got another question after. What's the other? We don't do this. What's the other process to get some kind of ordinance like this in place?
Do you mean procedurally, or what are the other options for the way that the town could handle a potential claim? What are the other options? Sitting here right now, the only other alternative I can think of, and I don't think it would be advisable for the town, would be to remove the provision dealing with insurance carriers and defense of, and insurance defense counsel or the town attorney's office to kind of take control of the situation at the beginning. But that would remove any ability for the town to be able to assert that it did loop the insurance company in at the beginning and therefore the claim should be covered. It really is helping us try and get insurance coverage.
So let me land with this. Everyone may not know, the layman person may know, even the mayor may not know, just finding this out. Every commissioner in the state of Florida have a 4-hour ethics course, a 4-hour every year. And with that ethics course, it really lays out all kind of things that can happen. As I'm sitting here right now, anyone in this room can ask for my paper to see what Joseph McMullen has been writing. Anybody can ask, just that simple. So it's not that simple, Mayor, about those different scenarios. There are so many scenarios. I do OneNote when I'm in the meetings just to make sure that I can remember some of the notes that happen. So ethics, and it's here to protect you. It's really here to protect you in this town. We have to take a 4-hour course every year so we don't mess up. So this is very important. This is huge. This is big. And this is not something we, just push underneath the rug. Because if I were to be out in the street and Sal Ramos and I, we love cigars. We out there smoking cigars, right? Someone could take a picture and say, oh, they're over there discussing what was going on in the town. And we can technically have someone bring some kind of case against us. So this is important. I just want you to know this is important. It's called a thing called a sunshine law. Other states don't have the sunshine law. Other states don't have it. Meaning or if you serve on a board, you cannot meet and just talk about anything. You can be together. I mean, I can go to Sal Ramos' house and watch football, but that can give a little idea that something's going on that's not right. So I want you to understand this ethics protection is huge. It's nothing to play with. Sal, I've been knowing Mike for 20 plus years. I've been knowing Sal a long time. We can't talk offline because someone may think that we're doing something wrong. Any one of you can say, hey, McMullen, I want to see what's on your computer. You can say that if you want to. Because I'm just typing notes on OneNote, but I got stuff about my business. I got stuff about my career. I got stuff about, things that I want to do personally in my OneNote. I give it to you. I don't care because I don't have anything crazy. So it's just that detail of why this is important. It's not a one or two different type of scenario. It's something real serious. And so if somebody's saying something about what they're thinking they're doing, and those dollars, so you can question anything that we do out in the field. That's scary, y'all. I can walk out this door and Sal supports my nonprofit. If you see on my nonprofit, he supports my nonprofit. Let me say this. I'm gonna land on this. I stop doing things in the town of Oakland because I don't want you residents to think that HAPCO is benefiting from it. I do concerts now through HAPCO in Ocoee, Apopka, and Fort Myers. I purposely stopped doing things here. So we won't have this issue about, is McMullen really making money from the town of Oakland? He was nonprofit when he's helping thousands of kids every year. So I do that on purpose, downtown Orlando. So what I'm saying, when I want everybody to understand, and when the mayor takes his first ethics class, a 4-hour live one, you're gonna really see the different scenarios you see around this state that has gotten people put in jail. Literally put in jail just by going to something that they shouldn't do. Now, let me say this now. There's some people that do some crazy stuff and they need to be in jail. But I can't go to Sal Ramos' house and smoke a cigar and watch TV because he and our buddies. We can't go to church together and sit next to each other. We both love the Lord. We can't do that. So please understand, this is not something that is real small. This is a major, major situation. And if we don't have this in place, any one of you can say something about us, the next thing you know, we're coming out of our pocket now. We make $599 a year, y'all, to serve. When I go on trips for the town, I use my job PTO. I take time off my job to go to a meeting to help serve this town. So I'm not making no money, I'm losing money. And I'm taking time away from my family. So please understand, no one's up here trying to do anything that's going to really cost you any money. But at the same time, please help us to help you to protect our town. Yeah, keep us straight, keep us honest, make sure that we don't make no mistakes. But at the same time, please, let's not make this some situation, some kind of litigious situation that any and everything can happen and not have some protection for somebody who's making $599 a year. Thank you very much.
Commissioner, I want to say that's a big loss for the town of Oakland, what Commissioner McMullen did and started here with the HAPCO. He brought a lot of events that we all enjoyed, and you put the town on the map with HAPCO for years. Right? Mike Satterfield has sacrificed for the town for over 25 years. I want to thank you, Mike. I want to thank you personally, really. And this is my notes, and they can grab them. Thank you, Mike, for all your service to our community and all your time sacrificed for our town. I don't know if you guys know, but since the late 90s, Mike Satterfield was cutting grass here when there was nothing here because Public Works didn't have enough staff because we didn't have the budget we have now. And he did a lot for free for the town. He's been to Santa Claus for 25 years. I mean, just about every kid in Oakland sat on his lap for 25, 27 years for free. He's done a lot, and I want to thank you. And thank you, Joseph. But this goes on beyond the town commission. This is the staff. This is also the committees that we're putting together. The waste committee, the charter committee, I mean, this is gonna fall on someone also going and saying, hey, you guys can't talk and we're gonna take a picture of you and go after you. You know, we're gonna limit that, and this is a protection for all of us not to violate that as a whole. And have the town be covered through the insurance and have the insurance take care of the claim and the lawyers. Instead, if every individual has to put their own lawyer out there and bring the invoice back to the town, it's gonna cost the town and the citizens more money. Unnecessary claims are gonna spend money of the taxpayers here in our town. This is needed.
After all we've been through, all I'll say is this is how easy things can go south. Last Thursday morning, days after Rick Palman left the commission table, we went and had breakfast, Rick, his wife and myself. Well, it wasn't that afternoon that I appeared on social media wondering why the commissioners were having breakfast and exactly what we were planning and why we moved from Satterfield's secret meeting house to Eggs Up. That's how fast something like it was a good picture.
All right. Joseph, for the record, I've already had the 4-hour
But it's not
this class.
two different scenarios that you mentioned.
Well,
You made-
there's multiple scenarios that
Yeah,
come
but-
into that
but you
class.
presented to the audience that ethics means this. It's deeper than this one or two items. With
It is, absolutely. There's a, but there is a number of scenarios that's
You said
ethic.
to the audience, you said,
It's
to
ethic.
me, ethics is 1 and 2.
No.
That's what you said. We can.
Okay. Well, let me go through and say there's a numerous amount of scenarios in the ethics class that you take. Florida League of Cities had a great one that I took, 4 hours. On top of that, for the past 13 years, I've served on the Planning and Zoning Board. I do ethics training there as well as sunshine law training there as well. I don't believe this emergency ordinance is necessary. It says in this ordinance, whereas, and it's already established, the Supreme Court of Florida has established that the public officials are entitled to legal representation at taxpayer expense when defending themselves against litigation arising out of their public duties and serving a public purpose. And said entitlement is a common law right that exists independent of any statute, ordinance, or charter. Again, this is not an emergency situation when something already sits there. This is great. You guys talked about Mike, and Mike, I'm proud about you serving the town as much as you have. And for the record, again, I have zero influence on anybody posting anything or doing anything. For the record, I do not communicate with anyone who posts. I don't go on social media. I'm not there. I see it as much as you see it when somebody sends me a text, said, do you see this? I look at it, I shake my head, and I move on, is what I do. Again, I don't believe this document, there's not a public emergency that exists. It's not affecting public welfare. An emergency ordinance needs to be used for an emergency. We can talk about this all you want. You can have it in a regular ordinance, and then you're going to try to bring it back again in 60 days. For what reason? What reason are we bringing it back again in 60 days?
That would be so that the ordinance can be adopted for codification.
So why wouldn't we just talk about it at that point? Why now? Because when you put something like this in front of you and in front of the people, questions start coming up. Questions start arising. What is going on? Somebody's got something going on. Something's happening. It's a stretch, is what it is.
I speak, Shane. So this is an emergency because it's going to cost the public money.
It will cost the public money regardless.
Correct.
It's already written. The Supreme Court already says, if we go and somebody gets caught and you're in the right and not in the wrong, these fine folks here, including us, because we're residents, will have to pay your legal bills. Now, if you get caught and you're not in the right and you get in trouble, it's on you to pay.
Now, thank you, Shane. When does the claim go into the insurance and can it come without this? In other words, what Shane's saying right now, correct, what he mentioned, but if there's a way to do a claim through the insurance, the lawyer will pick up from the insurance, the tab. Right now, it would be our lawyers, whoever we pick, and bring the invoice to the town to pay. So that's a cost to the public. Is it not?
Yes, this ordinance ensures that if a commissioner knows that an ethical complaint has been filed against him with the Florida Commission on Ethics, he has a duty to let the town staff know immediately when he finds out about that claim so that the information can be forwarded to the town's insurance carrier. As a general matter, when insurance carriers are late to the party, if you will, they tend to deny coverage because their position is, hey, we could have appointed insurance defense counsel to participate in this. You didn't allow us to have any input in the litigation to assist with defending the claim at all, and so we're not going to cover it.
So, Supreme Court, we have the entitlement as common law for us to go ahead and get our lawyer, but that would be, 500, 1,000, whatever we decide lawyer to pick. And if we win, we bring that invoice so that us, the citizens, would pay for that versus putting it through the claim of the insurance and let the insurance pick up the tab to their lawyer. It would save the town and the citizens money.
Yes.
Well, I think that's an emergency to save the citizens money.
No.
All right, let's cut to the chase. I'm going to tell you right now, the reason why it's an emergency is it's all common public knowledge that there has been a Florida Ethics Commission infraction loaded against me by somebody here. Now it's here and it needs to be dealt with. Period.
Okay. Has anything been filed with our insurance company to date?
I'm not aware that anything has.
According to what you have written here, upon the receipt of the ethics complaint, the official shall notify the town attorney of such complaint within 5 days of the actual physical receipt of such complaint, but in no case later than 30 days.
Receipt of what from Florida.
In no case later than 30 days after the service of the complaint by the Commission on Ethics. That's right.
That's why I asked.
The town attorney shall treat such communication and any documents related thereto as confidential attorney-client privilege matter. The town attorney shall contact the town's insurance carrier once you receive that document and place a claim for coverage if requested by the official. Once the town attorney learns whether or not the town's insurance carrier has accepted coverage of the claim, the town attorney shall notify the official, is what it says. Again, you haven't received anything. The clock has not even started ticking yet. To me, this is not an emergency ordinance situation. We're opening ourselves up to emergency ordinances. They may go through and look at this and say, this is not an ethics problem. This is not an ethics problem. And then the whole thing is done. But yet, we just set precedents to say anything can be an emergency ordinance.
If I may address your concerns about the emergency nature of the ordinance, as a legal matter, adopting an emergency ordinance as to one matter or to deal with one matter does not obligate you to do that to deal with another matter in the future. And so you would be welcome to say, hey, we found that something was an emergency back then and we're not going to find it now. And I will say as well, I'm just reading from case law here that I added to my memo for the agenda. The Florida Supreme Court found that if a public officer is charged with misconduct while performing his official duties and while serving a public purpose, the public has a primary interest in such a controversy and should pay the reasonable and necessary legal fees incurred by the public officer. in successfully defending against unfounded allegations of official misconduct. And so the idea that the Supreme Court of Florida has ruled that the public has a primary interest in this controversy, that's what's underlying the emergency nature. It's not simply that it's a financial matter. It's that it is a financial matter of great public importance as deemed by the Supreme Court.
But it's already, case law's already been set. It's already there. What I'm saying is, if you wanted to bring it back at the next meeting and say, let's just talk about this as a regular ordinance, we can talk about it like that. But I'm trying to get to the point here, this isn't an emergency situation. We're painting with a very broad brush here about setting emergency ordinances. We already know, every single one of us who serves in a public capacity knows that anybody could come out. Anybody could point a finger. That's part of being on here. That's just one of the liabilities of sitting here. And every citizen has a right to sit here and question and pick at you and do what you want. It's called your First Amendment right. And you're allowed to do that. So you got to have tough skin if you're going to sit up here. You know, if Mike's not doing anything wrong, sitting there eating breakfast with with Brick, okay, great. Take him at his word. If Joseph and Sal are smoking cigars together on the front porch and they said, we're not talking about anything, okay, take him at his word. I trust what they're saying. But if they're wrong and they're taking a 4-hour course for several years, you know what's right and what's wrong. Simple as that. So.
Yes, and I apologize, Mr. Mayor. I did not mean to debate with you at all. I was merely trying to explain the reasoning behind why this ordinance is being presented to you in the way that it is.
I
Question of-
understand. It's just, I've read it and I've looked at it and I've spent since it came out Thursday, several nights going back and forth, talking about it, thinking about it. And to me, it's just, I don't see a reason why it needs to be done. So.
Question statement. And I think this, the point I made, I asked, do we have this in place? Do we need this in place? That's where I'm trying to land. If the only thing we're sitting here discussing the part about it being an emergency, I think we just wasted a lot of time, honestly. What should have been done, what would normally have been done, is if there's an item on here that feels uncomfortable, any one of us would have called the mayor, the attorney and the town manager and say, hey, I understand this, but let's talk about this being an emergency or not. At the end of the day, it's needed. But to get this far and say, we're focusing on a word, I think it's a disservice to everyone that's in this room. Because at the end of the day, we know in the last 24 months, we need something in place just to make sure that we all feel comfortable. And the only reason it's here now is because something that's been floating around has finally landed and has been presented and is being discussed. So the fact that we're dealing with the word emergency, I wish we just would, some of these things that don't really make it, it's budget, I was gonna ask, is budget neutral? It's not causing any headache. It's just really protecting anybody here now and in the future. We're dealing with the word emergency. That's it. So please, if we need to table this for another time, fine. We need to make sure something like this is on our books for the future. That's my personal feeling. I would not even going back and forth if we're around here just dealing with the word emergency. My main concern when I asked the questions was, do we have anything like this? And what's the vehicle to get it on to make sure we have something in place for anybody that served, whether they're serving on a committee and or a commission or staff. Thank you.
So to jump off what Joseph said, Stephanie, is this necessary at this time if it's already been known and it's already covered that each person sitting up here, an official, An official is, it's designated as Elise or Andy or anybody who's a town official, correct? They're already covered. It's already known that your expenses, if you follow this procedure that you have laid out, let's say he gets a notice. At that point in time, he's going to pick the phone up and call and say, I got this notice in the mail. At that point, you're going to go to action, correct? And you're going to say, okay, let's go. We're going to go to the insurance carrier and say what they say. But it's already set. Precedence is set. The system is set, is what I'm saying. So again, is an ordinance for this even necessary since it's already but in law?
The ordinance isn't necessary in the sense that it will give any commissioner a right to compensation that that commissioner wouldn't have otherwise, but it is necessary if the town wants to have any say in how a claim for attorney's fees is going to be handled. It is necessary to that. Otherwise, the alternative scenario, and I just want to lay out what can happen without an ordinance like this protecting the town. You can have a commissioner that has a complaint filed against him. He goes off and secures his own private attorney
Right.
to represent him.
Right?
The fees for that could be $200 an hour. They could be $500 an hour. They could be $700 an hour. The town will have no discretion whatsoever in who represents that commissioner. I would not have the ability to represent the commissioner because of I wasn't directed to do so by this commission and I'm not their personal private attorney. And so then at the end of the day, we would potentially have a very, very expensive legal bill that would come out of the town's budget rather than being covered by insurance, and which would be significantly higher than it would have been had the town attorney's office been able to intervene early.
Right. So instead of creating this ordinance, why wouldn't we go back and create something that says attorney's fees are only going to be X, the town is only going to pay X, Y, and Z for whatever attorney fees that you incur? Because right now, this document doesn't give you a cap. Right? I mean, and plus the insurance company could sit there and go, we'll pay it, or they'll say, we're not paying that. It's on you to go and pay. So why couldn't we come back, like Joseph said, do you table this? Because ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna have to pay it regardless. It's just part of it's how the law works. You're gonna have to pay it. It doesn't matter if we have an emergency ordinance or not. If he goes through or somebody else goes through, you're gonna have to pay it. Why can't you come back with a cap and say the town's only gonna pay up to $300 an hour in attorney's fees?
That would be within your discretion. This ordinance is merely the procedure that's being proposed. But I can't sitting here right now say that you couldn't do that.
So we could direct the town manager to say, Andy, can you work with the attorneys to try to come up with something that has a cap to it that we can all agree on, that says if you get in trouble, you're found not guilty, that we're going to pay up to a cap.
And a cap, you mean an hourly rate?
Yeah,
right?
an hourly
Not a
rate. If it's
total-
say you have to find an attorney and an attorney says, I'm only going to charge you $300 an hour. I mean, attorneys get expensive. It depends on what you go for,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
I think that if you put a cap on, let's say you do win the case because you're innocent, does that mean that after the cap, any one of us is going to float the remaining bill? So someone in the committee, say the charter, is sued. And if it goes over X, I'm just going to throw an easy number, 10,000, but the cap is 2,000, you guys are liable for $8,000? I think that having the insurance lawyers kick in and take care of it. I have a question. Can we do this ordinance? The town is going to benefit from the ordinance, not worsen. It's going to benefit from it. Again, we can table this for later, or can we do an ordinance without the word emergency in front of it?
In order for these policies to be effective today, they have to be adopted as an emergency ordinance. Otherwise, we would have to adopt it as a regular ordinance with a first and second reading.
I think if you want to bring this back and look at it, I think we need to rework the wording that's in here. You should have some protection in there for not only us, but also the taxpayers. Because you don't want to sit there and say, well, guess what, taxpayers, it's $750 an hour, where you would find a lawyer and say, you can only charge us representing the town of Oakland at $300, whatever the number is you come up with. And then you know that's the cap. The insurance company themselves will either accept or deny the claim. They will either pay. It's like, you get in a car wreck, either we're going, or your State Farm's going to do your roof. Well, we're going to deny you're not getting into a roof even though a hurricane.
It's a given if the insurance lawyer denies it, it's probably because you're guilty.
It could be. That's absolutely right. And then if you get a letter, probably, then that means, okay, we're going to go and look at this.
So in essence, if we had the insurance lawyers take care of every one of us and they deny a claim, means most likely you're guilty. Therefore, you wouldn't have to pay the bill. Without the insurance lawyers, we'd go get a lawyer, whether it's $350 or $1,000 an hour, and the bill would come to the town because a good lawyer will probably find you innocent.
Now, I will say these procedures were adopted to deal with a variety of insurance policies. So you could have insurance policies that would cover this type of matter, and you could have policies that would never cover this type of matter, regardless of when they were notified of a potential claim. So this is really crafted to try and be applicable regardless of what type the town's insurance.
So we
policy
still
is.
have to table this and do this ordinance with, like Shane said, with some proper
Language.
language that's going to be, beneficial for the town citizens and all of us with the word emergency right now in front of it to adopt it today. Correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
I said we'd have to table this and rewrite this ordinance and make it an ordinance. If the word emergency is what hanging everybody up right now is the word emergency, and rewrite this and make a proper ordinance for us to redo.
Yes, to do it not as an emergency ordinance, we would have to bring a new draft before you for first reading, potentially at the next meeting or whenever we have that ready. And then we'd have to have a second reading on that as well.
Okay. I'm proposing we go that route and table this. And if you want an ordinance, come back with something that's a little more defined.
The only thing is that when I hear our attorneys say that emergency ordinance is not indicative of this being something that we can rinse and repeat for the future emergencies. This is custom to this. Every time there's an emergency ordinance, it's custom to its subject.
Yes, precisely. And in this case, again, the Supreme Court has ruled that the public has a primary interest in such a controversy when a public officer is charged with misconduct while performing his official duties and while serving a public purpose. So this factual scenario that this ordinance was crafted to address is very, very different from, I think the mayor had brought up the idea of a developer coming and saying, hey, can you adopt some sort of development order as an emergency ordinance? That is not a matter that has been deemed by the Supreme Court to be a matter in which the public has a primary interest. So we could, completely in good faith say this is not at all like the attorney's fee situation.
Right.
So from the town's insurance standpoint, typically how I've handled it in the profession is once there's a claim filed that I forward it to the town's insurance company. Once there's a claim on behalf of the town that's going to cost the town money, I typically send those to the insurance company. The town does have public official liability insurance. So if you're acting, I guess, in your official duties, you'll send that to them. They will either deny the claim or they will approve the claim and assign an attorney if that's the request of, I would imagine. I've never been in this situation, but once there's a claim filed versus an accusation, then I would forward that to the town's insurance attorney. Or insurance company. So I can put them on notice that there is a potential claim. They usually there's a grace period that they allow with 60 to 90 days. So if there's a claim filed against the town by an employee that gets injured, then we have a certain period of time that we have to file that claim. And if we don't, they can deny it just because they weren't aware of it. They weren't involved in it from the beginning. So once there is a claim filed against the town, we would forward that to the town's insurance company. If there's an accusation, then that's not something that we'd necessarily do until there's a claim, some sort of financial damage against the town. So that's kind of where I stand with it. And so if that's the direction of the commission, that's what I'll continue to do is once there's a
Mhm.
claim filed, I'll send it to the insurance company. They won't have any issues with us sending a possible claim that's out there. So I can send any possible claims that come against the town or any accusations that have been filed, whatever agency or whoever attorney or any other. So I don't mind sending that to them to put them on notice. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no claim that will be denied based on grace period that we've expired. But any potential claims that are out there against the town and the residents, I'll make sure that the insurance company's made aware to protect everybody in this.
But one comment I want to add to this. We definitely need this, but in 27 years, in the years I've been around, I've never seen anyone that sat up here to have an ethics complaint on them. So this is the first time we're dealing with this. This probably happened in other cities. Well, let me say this. This has happened in other cities and towns and county governments. This is the first time we've had this in the town of Oakland. No one said everyone is here perfect or without fault, but we're dealing with something we never dealt with before. Social media has changed the whole landscape of every city and town and government in the entire country. So yes, protect us. Please do. Keep us honest. But at the same time, please understand, this is the first time anyone that I know of that have served the town of Oakland has ever had an ethics complaint. And if we can put something in place, because one of you guys may be up here in the next 2 to 4 to 8, whatever years, we want to make sure you're protected as well. I'll land there.
If the commission would like, I can have somebody from the insurance company, maybe talk about the public officials liability policy and what that covers for the town. That's the insurance realm. And I can have them come to a future meeting in case it's approved or denied. They have the whole document on public officials liability the town pays for, so we'll take and along with our other insurances. And then as far as this item goes, I mean, we could revise it, but there is a potential that the insurance company denies or approves a claim, and I can go ahead and find that information out as far as the public officials liability side of things, which is, I think, is what we're speaking of this evening.
So after tonight, you can still follow up with that with the insurance.
And I can have an answer. We could have some sort of idea or clarification on the town's insurance as it relates to the liability that you all face as being public officials, potential liability. Would not protect, if they deny that, of course, and you have a claim against you, then this is where the ordinance like this or the Supreme Court ruling would weigh in, and all are trying to decide.
I'd like to take advice from our attorney that this is only going to better us and protect us. And it does not set precedents for future emergencies of different scenarios. And if you're ready, I can make a motion now.
We got to open it up to the audience. Again, I will say that if you accept this, there's no cap. There's no dollar figure on there. That's what we're trying to go back to them and have them come up with something that says, hey, add something in here that talks about protection to the town residents and how much dollars they're going to spend on attorney's fees per hour if the insurance company does not pick it up. That's the other issue. That's why I think this, honestly, it should be tabled. It should be recrafted, redrawn, brought back through normal channels of ordinances, and then adopt it if we so agree to, and then go from there.
What would be the ideas of a cap if there was a way to?
I would have to do some research into that. In the realm of defense of an ethics complaint that's been filed with the Florida Commission on Ethics, I can say that there are true experts out there who they are intimately familiar with They know the Florida Commission on Ethics. They know all of their opinions. This is what they do. They aren't municipal attorneys or town attorneys. They are attorneys who defend ethical complaints. I'm not sure, I'd need to try and figure out kind of what an approximate ballpark figure to hire one of those attorneys would be. But I do worry about the idea of a cap because that takes some discretion away from the town attorney's office. We may decide that an attorney who is more expensive by their hourly rate will dispose of the case faster because we have determined in our discretion that they are the expert on this matter. And it may very well cost more money and be a less favorable outcome if we hire a quote, cheaper attorney to kind of slog through everything who's more unfamiliar with. So this is really meant to guard against the type of fast-talking attorney out there who may be able to convince individuals that he's worth more than he is. The town attorney's office, as attorneys who deal with these types of matters, we can figure out who those individuals are and who the true experts are probably a little bit more easily because it's what we do for a living.
So if there's an expert who can help our town go through this faster, we may be limiting that expert lawyer.
If the hourly rate were to be, say, $300 and that attorney wants $400 an hour, we could be prohibited from hiring that attorney if you were to impose a cap. And I'm just trying to present
Yeah, we're
pros and
talking, we
cons.
don't know what the cap would be at that point for somebody to represent a commissioner or an official, I should say official, that's what it's called in here, an official. What's the average? I don't know. I know what a real estate attorney's average is. I don't know what an attorney who specializes in this average is. But
Do we have to put a price to make this ordinance go through?
if you don't, what's for them to say, come in and charge you $1,000 an hour?
The ordinance provides that if insurance coverage is denied, then either the attorney may represent the commissioner in defense of the ethics complaint, or the town attorney will designate another attorney. So I would have some discretion and the rest of the town attorney's office would have some discretion in who that attorney will be. And therefore over the rate, because we wouldn't.
What is that rate? And who justifies that's that's the rate we're all agreeing to pay?
Wouldn't you guys be the experts that we rely on to find someone for us?
We would be, yes, we would be finding an attorney and we would be determining whether they are really worth that hourly rate in our
Okay,
judgment.
But you would know what attorney to get. So you would kind of call that guy and say, hey, if we get this, what's your hourly rate? And we would set that already. And you could have maybe you have a cap where it says $400 an hour with a percentage if it goes over.
But you already have that. I mean, if we have something going on, you already have that, whether it's a developer or another case. We don't put caps on you because you're there to defend us. You'll find the right person, the right attorney for us in the situation that we're in. Isn't that correct?
We would, yes.
My question is, why limit them if they can get someone to defend our town for the best of us?
I'm not opposed to them not getting someone that's better that can defend our town or defend any official sitting up here. What I'm opposed to is if that a person they get sits there and says, it's going to be $1,000 after the insurance company says, we're not covering you. That's the key. If the insurance company says, we're not covering this, and then it's on that person to go then and say, okay, I'm going to go through with this, and ends up winning. And then the attorney comes in and says, I covered you. I got you out of this mess. It's $1,000 an hour. And I spent, 40 hours on it. It's $40,000. I'm sorry,
And
I will say also, if an insurance carrier denies coverage, it doesn't necessarily mean that the commissioner is guilty of whatever has been alleged. Insurance carriers are notorious for attempting to deny coverage even when they really should be covering a claim. And that's something that can only be sorted out with litigation, which can sometimes be protracted and take years. And in the meantime, we would have a public official with a pending ethics
this
complaint.
person
against
is
them.
continuing to charge you by the hour if it takes years.
so if the person at the end is innocent,
The taxpayer's paying regardless.
that's good. You guys want to, if you're innocent, you want to be claim innocent.
Everyone knows everyone's opinion on this now. I'm all 80-20 on it. We can keep going like this. So you probably all said everything you want to say that's competitive. Jane, if you want to turn it over to community at large at this point.
All right, so let's do that. We'll open it up to the audience. Does anybody have anything they would like to say? Okay, I saw your hand right there first. Chris. Make sure you speak into the mic, Chris, and name and address, please.
Chris Keller, 2511 Stone Creek Court, Oakland, Florida. Okay, so I'm speaking to everyone here, commission and town members. Couple of things I'm taking away from this, but first and foremost, yes, we have a right and we should always question anything that we have concerns about our officials of our town. But one of my big takeaways is from this is what this is going to cost the town. So I would encourage us as residents to hold our officials accountable. But I also know there was a lot of animosity in the election last year, and there was a lot of things that came up. And I've always tried to be the voice of reason when I come up here. And I'm going to try to be that again and just say, let's be mindful. Again, if someone's doing something wrong, we should hold them accountable. But if we see someone having breakfast, maybe they're just having breakfast. And is it really worth having this discussion about what it's going to cost ultimately us to defend this person, right or wrong, whether they were just having breakfast or doing something inappropriate? Again, I'm saying hold them accountable if need be. But I know a lot of things came out of the election that people were upset and stuff like that. And I don't even know what this accusation is, I'll be honest, but let's just be mindful. Just a quick example is like in my neighborhood, I hear people always, we have a new neighborhood with a new HOA and people are like, we're going to sue the HOA. And I'm like, yeah, and you're going to end up paying for that, your own lawsuit. And that's basically what we're doing here. So again, hold people accountable, but be thoughtful. And, I know we've got, elections coming up, and let's maybe use our vote and our upcoming elections to solve some of these matters, as opposed to possibly costing all of us as residents what could be a significant amount of money when we need things like money for our fire department, which we just had that big increase. So that, and then the other is just that I would encourage the committee or the commission to think about, I do think we need the rules. It does sound like we do need the rules. There needs to be some guidelines. But the state has already spoken, guys, that, we're going to pay these attorneys' fees. It's part of what the state Supreme Court's already ruled. So we just need to make it the rules. Again, no, from what I just heard, I don't think any actual claim has happened yet. So it sounds like from the timelines that have been discussed, we have time to do this right. Forget about the word emergency or not. Let's take the time to do it right. I would implore you to do that. Thank you.
Carlos.
Tinoy, Longleaf, Carlos, let's go. 1408 Pine Street. I guess my question would be, what are other municipalities doing? And did they do it in an emergency, get it in the books right away? Or did they follow a normal ordinance? So is this something we're doing because of what's happening to us? Or is it something we're doing because the Supreme Court ruled this way and other towns or other municipalities are doing similar things? Or did they already have that stuff in their books?
I can't speak as to what other municipalities do generally because I am just not aware, but I can say that these types of ordinances are on the books in other cities in Florida.
Yes, sir.
My name is Kurt Guys. I'm at 409 East Tension Avenue. I think the reason it's an emergency in my mind is that something has happened in the first time in 27 years of our commission. And if we don't do something tonight, somebody gets a complaint tomorrow, they can go hire their own attorney at any rate they want. If we do something tonight, they're now obligated to come to the city. They take it to the insurance company for a claim. If it's denied, then the attorney at the town decides who that attorney is going to represent at a rate that we feel is reasonable. So the gap is whatever that person goes out and hires versus what this attorney over here can find for us. So we can table this, but if this comes in tomorrow, that person has no obligation to notify the town and they can go run up a bill that I as a taxpayer are going to pay. And I think that it's trivial that you're worried about a word emergency. It is an emergency. We have something happen to our town that's never happened before. And we need to stop this at the head before this gets up to a bill that we can't afford to pay.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy Wiedemann, I'm at 707 Regina Circle, Oakland, Florida. And I just have a couple questions, and that is that we're having a lot of discussion here now. And that's just our group. And that would kind of indicate that maybe there's more discussion that needs to be happening. And I'm in agreement that if it's an emergency, it's our fault that it's an emergency. We had 24 months to deal with this and we didn't. And in my business, we make a mistake and we have to pay a little bit to make it right. Then we pay a little bit because it's our problem. We made that problem. And I do feel like there is more that we can look at before we make the ordinance. You said that you haven't looked at other municipalities and what they have in place, and I think it's worth a look at that to see what maybe they have in place that maybe we didn't think of, or that maybe is out there, or it's an option for us. I don't think that we need to be rash right now and adopt this resolution without having some discussion about it. And besides, the main thing is here that Mr. Satterlee is respected by everyone here. Seems like he's done a good job. We enjoy his service. I don't think he's going to take advantage of us. I don't see the fact that this gentleman is going to go out and rack up a $50,000. I don't even think it's going to go that far, maybe. We don't even know that, right? If you go to the commission could look at it and say, like, this was not worth, it's not worth going ahead with it. So, and that's a definite possibility. Sometimes that happens. And when they go to the commission, you don't know. I mean, sometimes I would imagine the commission doesn't automatically say, okay, we're going to prosecute. I think they have to look at it and see if it's even worthy of that. But in the worst case scenario, I don't think this gentleman's going to take advantage of us just to rack up a bill. I think there's plenty of people that he would have available to him to represent him that we may even pick ourselves. We would have picked ourselves. I just don't think we need to deny ourselves the abilities to maybe do the right thing and not just because we're afraid that something's going to happen. I don't think we have that. I just don't. And that's all I have to say.
Yes, sir, in the back.
It's Jeff Sandy, live at 90 Demon Street. There are towns probably that have been faced with exactly what we're looking at. I think that Winter Garden would be a place to check. We talk to the attorney, find out what are the protocols, how do we do it? There are counties that have been faced with this issue of ethics complaint, and it goes not only to the commissioner, but it goes also to the employees of the community. when they are charged with something, they go to their boss or their boss tells them that there is a complaint. The attorney is brought into that. The manager is brought into that. And anybody else that's involved in it, there's a protocol, there's steps that have to be taken. What I'm trying to say is that from what I've heard, nothing has been committed to the town as far as any kind of legal, you are being charged with this. Nothing's happened. And to start throwing money at it, because I know that everybody's concerned and it scares you. When you have someone accuse you of something, you want to go get an attorney to fight it. Well, if nothing's been actually submitted legally to our community or to the commissioners, then all it is conversation. I don't want to stack up a legal bill unnecessarily until something is actually starts the ball in motion. But before that happens, we need to find out what is in place to protect everything. Because real quick, and then I'll shut up. My wife says, "You're going to talk." And I said, "No, I'm not. Just sit there and listen." When I was in an auto accident, I had great insurance. I wasn't worried about a thing. All of a sudden, this person says, I put her in traction and she's been to the doctors and this and that. I'm going, and I hear about this from the insurance company. The insurance company's lawyer said, I will represent you unless you want to get your own attorney, and then you're on your own. I said, well, I will trust you because he represents the insurance company who's going to have to fork out the buck. And anything over that, I might be held liable. But I was willing to take a chance. Long story short, there's got to be something that the insurance company is going to say, well, this complaint, and this complaint, and this complaint, and this complaint aren't even part of the system. This one is. And so instead of protecting, the whole thing, this one complaint is where we fork out the big buck. I don't know if I made myself clear.
Thanks.
I think we need to wait until you hold the four corners of the paper, you look at what the complaint is from the state, and then you move. And there should be time.
Thanks, Jeff. Kevin?
It's 301. The issue, Andy, seems pretty simple to me. It seems like all officials and people that represent the town need to be part of their agreement to serve. Something is filed, in the insurance company within a very short period, whatever that is. And that seems like that would solve a major issue with this, which is the risk of someone hiring their own attorney and writing the bill bigger than what should be. But anyway.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? You're not a town resident, but you can. It's a public forum.
Hello, I'm Noreen Dworkin. I'm the editor-in-chief of Vox Populi. That the government he spoke to didn't think that it was would be at all interested in this. So I'm unsurprised that you haven't heard anything from the Ethics Commission. So he did reach out to you. If I'm not correct, this is the same. Said that it's a matter for the voters to decide. It might go to your. But question that I had for the commissioner is residency is undefined in your charter. And hopefully that's something that you guys will address in your charter review. Severely undefined. So I'm going to ask the commissioner to define residency. And how many days would you say that, since you say that you live in Oakland, how many days would you say that you spend in Oakland over a year? Okay. I appreciate that answer. Wish that you would have given it to me so I could have included it in the article. One more thing before I yield my time back, because I appreciated that Commissioner Mullen said that we can question everything we do. Our right and privilege. Question what our commissioners and our elected officials do. And it is our right to ask what this is a business. And I was very disappointed that Commissioner Satterfield did not yield up his scoring sheets when we were doing the nomination for seat 3. I would have liked to have seen your scoring sheet. You didn't turn your scoring sheet in. Neither did Commissioner Polland. That's our right to see that.
Thanks. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else like to speak? Okay, if that's the case, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the table. Gentlemen.
I want to make a comment before we move forward. When I reference the 2 weeks, 2 years, I'm talking about the culture of the town has changed over the last 2 years, really a little bit longer than that. So this issue really came up. But the town culture and how residents and the commission, it really started around COVID. So it's really happy. I've sat in this meeting and I've heard someone say when someone goes up to the dais, go get them, go get them. How does that feel that I'm sitting here serving and someone is telling another person to go get them? That's an attack. That's a threat. If you're telling someone to go get me at this table here, that makes me feel threatened that your job is to really be combative as opposed to working together. And then the last point, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know I had the support of legal because I really never even thought about an ethic complaint coming against me. So that's not something I just know. I know the town does, but if I got an ethics complaint, I think I got to get my own lawyer. So we just, a lot of us in here, we just try, and I know people have said, let's work together because at the end of the day, whatever we do now is going to be setting precedents for future generations. So thank you so much.
And I will say this to end it. My main concern here isn't that I've done something wrong. I'm 100% sure that if it was to go all the way through, I would win this. Flat out, period. My concern is for the town of Oakland and all the crap that it's being run. And it's a darn shame. It is. It's the first time in all these years. Shame, darn shame that we're even in this position where we even have to be against each other that much. To Hap's point, Commissioner McMullen's point, that go get them, because that's all we're feeling up here. most of us, is threatened. And it hasn't stopped. And it has to stop one way or the other. That's my main concern here for the town of Oakland. I'll get through this one way or the other. But the town of Oakland won't. This goes on and it goes on and it goes on. All people talk about now is what the hell's happening in the town of Oakland? And I quote that and I use that word. That's what I hear. And that just makes me sick to my stomach. That's not what I, and it's a shame that we.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to speak for the volunteers that we were hoping to have when we set out this year. Dane, you were one of the ones who said it, me and you both, that, you know, we were going to have committees and people were going to get involved, and we're happy to have this whole room filled up. But if we keep on going in this direction, less and less citizens are going to want to volunteer like we are in any of the committees or any help, because they're going to feel like they're a target from certain people and they're not going to want to get involved. I know that for a fact, that I talked to a lot of citizens all year that I said, let's get involved. I invite them to a lot of the events from one side of the town to the other, from the west side to the, here in our town, City Hall. And a lot of them are just saying, this is just too much. There's a lot of drama in this town and we don't want to be a target. That's sad. That's what we're giving our next generation of our kids, for them to say, I don't want to be part of this town. Look how it is. This is community. We have to think globally as a community, who we are as Oakland next to our neighbors. It saddens me. It really does.
Would agree. It gets exhausting. And, you know, and there's an election coming up in 26, and that's the time, I think, to voice your opinion and your concern. And if you don't like the direction it's going, you do what I did. Yeah, I didn't like the direction it was going and I ran. And sitting up here today. So with that being said, we'll bring it back here, guys. What's your pleasure?
Again, I'm going to go back to the attorney's advice and quotes that it does not set precedents. We could, you know, again, you'll go back to getting an attorney that's going to be the best for our town, for our buck, the best for our buck. And I'm going to make a motion to approve this ordinance 2025-01.
Anybody second? All in favor? No. What happened, Stephanie?
The ordinance does not pass, so it's not approved, and none of the procedures are effective as of today.
I would like to say, if this is something we need to pursue, which it is probably something we need to pursue, that the town staff get with the attorneys and start drafting something that we can all look at and go through and, you know, pick it up, look at it, and adjust as we need, as we feel necessary. Mike, I think you're okay. I don't think there's any issues there. If you, like Noreen said, if you haven't heard anything yet, chances are you're probably okay. And I truly hope that's the case, really. Great business, straight business is what it is. All right, we're going to move on. Next on the list is other policy matters, and we are moving to additional finance positions. Hey, Mel, how are you?
I try to make this short and sweet. We like to bring a recommendation of an additional finance position of a finance operations specialist. This is due to the town finance department used to operate under 2 to 3 staff members. However, with recent staff changes, with Renee Mullen retirement in May and Gabby moving from HR manager to director, and then myself transitioning from payroll to human resources director, that the finance department is now left with only finance director. This shift has created a significant gap in staffing, which has impacted the department's ability to manage its operations effectively. we would recommend to address the growing demands and to ensure the continued smooth operations of the finance department. We are recommending the creation of a new position, like I stated. This role will provide essential support in managing financial operations and help maintain the high standards of financial reporting, compliance, and service for the town of Oakland. Proposing this finance operations specialist with a pay grade of 107, which is minimum of 45, max of.
Great, thank you. Any questions from anybody? None? I will say we probably do need to fill those positions. The town has grown from what it was, so you're gonna need a lot more support staff as the town continues to grow. So, motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Next, we got discussion of charter review committee. So, I was talking with the town clerk today about this, and there is a packet that is in front of you. And in that packet, it has a list of applicants. The deadline to be an applicant for charter review committee ended on January 10th at 5 o'clock. There are currently 9 applicants in the list. One of those applicants will review those. And if you guys feel inclined to call each applicant and talk to each applicant, you can so do that as well. At the meeting on 28th, we will appoint 4 people because we don't have the 5th member sat yet, or 5th commission member sat yet. We will appoint 4 people to the Charter Review Committee. They will then get started in the process. Bose Law Firm will be spearheading that operation, I think, guiding those committee members. Then as that last commissioner gets set, that last commissioner will then take a look at this application list again and select that 5th member from here, correct? Okay. Is there anything we need to do except take it and run with it? And 27th, right? Or 28th?
28th. Yes, that's correct. So at the next meeting, I will go around the table and ask you who your appointee will be, and you will just announce who that person is.
Okay. All right. Last item on this policy matter is the Commissioner Pollin's resignation for seat 1 in the appointment process. I will say that Commissioner Pollin served the town well. He chose to resign on the 30th of December, I believe it was. So we wish him all the best, and we'll have him in here very soon, back to give him all the praise and thanks that he's deserved for what he's contributed sitting here on this board. With that, there will be an appointment process as well for seat 1. How that process will work is there's open applications right now, and that deadline is this Friday, the 17th by 5 o'clock. So if anyone is interested in putting in an application for the seat 1 commission, the deadline is this Friday, 5 o'clock. Right now, we have 3 that have applied so far. Then that process, we will we'll get those applications, obviously, take a look at those. And then we'll set up and you guys, if you want to do this differently, let me know. But my thoughts are a public workshop prior to the 7 o'clock meeting. And then we can go through and interview. And then at the 7 o'clock meeting, the regular town commission meeting is when we will select and swear in that new commissioner. Does that sound the right process, Stephanie?
Yes, the charter merely requires that the appointment be made within 30 days, and it's silent as to the process used. So whatever process the commission's comfortable with is perfectly fine.
Okay. So the 30th day from resignation is that Wednesday after the 29th. And if the appointment's not made by the 28th or the 29th, then the governor we'll select someone to fill that seat until the next election cycle is what happens. So how do you guys feel with that process?
It's a good process.
Okay. All right. So that's it, Elise. That's what we'll do. We'll gather the information kind of similar to the charter review. Then we'll do a workshop, be open to the public, interview, and then at that 7 o'clock meeting, we'll select. Very- Yeah, I guess there will be a new commissioner seated that night, and then the 4 charter review people that night. So yeah, that's correct. Correct. Okay, so since you guys started around, we'll do the public forum. If anyone would like to speak on any matters that was not covered in tonight's meeting, you're welcome to do so. We ask when you come up to state your name, address, and please keep it at 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Any takers tonight? Any takers? Jill, sorry. We'll go Jill, we'll go Carlos, guy in the back. Yep.
Jill Cox at 301 North Walker. This is kind of for the police. It's not the chief over there. But on January 5th, there was a large fireworks / bomb that was set off somewhere north of me, and it shook my glass doors. And so I don't think we have an ordinance that says we can only set fireworks off on the 4th of July and New Year's Eve. And we have how many Wounded Warrior houses? I think that we need to protect them. You know, I know some of them have PTSD, and that was a big firework / bomb. And I just think there should be an ordinance and says, you know, if you set off not on either of these 2 days, that you're gonna get a fine or something. And I just think that's a great idea.
Thanks, Jill. So just make sure I understood, Jill. So you're not opposed to the 4th of July or New Year's Eve. It's the time in between that you would think, hey, if you got some people doing something, maybe the police department goes out and, yeah. Right. Okay. Great. Hey, Carlos.
Let's go 1408 Planted Pine Street. First off, I second that. I think several people called the police that day. I mean, it was huge everywhere. I just wanted to first and foremost thank Shane for the great job I think he's done since becoming mayor. From doing the get to know the mayor to just coming prepared and just being very knowledgeable in every meeting. I think we're in good hands for the coming years. That said, I just hope with the appointment of the new commissioner, that again, sunshine is best cure, that it's an open process. It doesn't have to be a female, obviously. The most qualified person, I think, should be appointed. However, if that person happens to be a female, I think that would be good to obviously add a little flavor to the commission. I think it's good to bring a different perspective. So again, without knowing who has stepped up to the plate, hopefully we'll apply. So anyway,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. Thank you for the kind words. Oh, is that time again? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Wally. I am the Cub Master, Pack 978. We're out of 218 East Oakland at Oakland Presbyterian. And I am here once again to ask for your support in the annual Pinewood Derby. I know Commissioner Ramos has built a car, or at least raced a car with us last year. And I know the police department has done one too. So I'm just here to invite anyone here on the commission, as well as anyone in the public. The date will be February 1st. Doors open at 11 AM in the afternoon, race is 12:15 or 12:30. And I have some cars here for anyone. I can drop one off for the town. If Sal wants to do one, if anyone else would like to take the onus and burden of, so it's just a simple wood car. You cut it down however you want to. There are some rules. But I will say that the defending champs are Oakland Police Department as of last year. So you are, they will bring a radar gun. But we do have rules still for the community race, but it's a community race and it's fun. We have a good time.
How many participants can you get out on the, if all of us wanted to do one or 2 or 3, it doesn't matter.
Got 75 in my car. I'll
Okay.
come back if you'd like. But we can talk. I know you're actually coming to one of our-
Sal, yes. Sal, you in for this
I
year?
have a number. I have 2 tonight and I can leave more later. And you have my contact information on the form. Please include that with notes.
The more chances we bring, right?
Yeah, the better we'll win.
Win. Sorry, OPD.
You can solve a lot of votes that way too, by racing. I mean, that might be a fun way to do it. So if you're okay with it, I will leave 2 cars here, 1 for police and 1 for town, and then just reach back out to me.
Or more than 1 if you want, more than 2 if you want.
Absolutely, yeah. We meet Mondays all the time at the church over there. So I'm there.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thank you.
Later.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
This isn't really a question, but I'm Jean Robinson. I live at 16 West Vic Avenue, and I don't know if the street signs were finished that you're putting up on all the new street signs, but on our street, it says East Vic Street, and actually our road is West Vic Avenue. And I've had and a couple of people now, the FedEx or one of the deliveries said, is this right? Because the road says East Vic Street and your address is West Vic Avenue. So I don't know if you're done or if it needs to be fixed or what. Okay.
Problem. And if you know, like an old coin, if there's an error on it, it's worth millions of dollars.
But
That sign is going to be
on
worth something.
East Vic, there's not, at least, because I'm on, you go down Tubb and you turn left and that's West Vic Avenue and right is east. So not only is that wrong, but it also it's avenue, not street. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean. All right, anyone else? Okay. Oh, Kurt.
Guys, 409 East Tension. Mr. Mayor, earlier tonight you said something, and I've actually heard you say it on other occasions too, that you have no way of influencing or taking action about people who are dividing our town. I think in my opinion, the number 1 role of a mayor is to unify a community. And I think by standing by and not taking action, you're actually hurting us. So I actually am pleading with you, can you please step up and lead and talk to your neighbors, your friends, the people who voted for you. Let's bring this town back together because I heard what Mr. Ramos said earlier tonight. Talk to people about volunteering, getting involved, and they don't want to do it. And it's not because they don't want to serve. They don't want to get involved in this mess. So please lead and help us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I will be happy to do that. No problem. There's nothing you want more than to walk down the street and not have people sneer at you. You know, correct? I walk by your house every morning with my dog. I see you out there. Your dogs run up to my dog. We wave hi and exchange pleasantries and move on. So it is unfortunate what's happening. I think Joseph said it best. It seemed like when COVID hit, after that, it kind of just all kind of started unraveling at that point. But yes, sir, I will do everything in my power to try to bring this town that you believe is divided back together. Absolutely. I have been, we'll start back up the Meet Your Mayor, I think February. Is that correct? You don't care. So it's February. So, that is a good chance to come out and talk. And again, that's just, I'm not self-promoting it, but it is a good opportunity for people to come out and just in a very informal, just come in and ask any question you want and talk. There's no reason, nothing's off the table. I'll tell you what I know and what I don't know, we'll find out for you. So thank you. Thank you for asking that question. Anyone else? Okay, let's close it down. Andy, we'll bring it back to you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Town Commission, once again, just a couple items on my list here this evening, but first off, I just wanted to say, once again, as I do most meetings, thank you to the town staff. We continue to work hard every day for our town and to handle business the right way. So I appreciate all the department heads that are here this evening. I can tell you that we're set up for success in 2025. I think the town commission and going to see the finances improve for 2024 when we get our audit. I think we all know that it takes money to make the world go around and to make improvements for our town, and hopefully one day be able to reduce our millage rate and reduce what we're paying out of pocket to live here and continue to make improvements in the town of Oakland. I think you're going to see drastic improvements in our finances this next year. Our audit, we're beginning to do the audit process. So in April and May, you'll get a copy of the audit and be able to look at the town's finances and just see how much we've improved in 2 years. Speaking of that, we discussed paving at our last meeting, Hinchin Avenue. The commission wanted me to get some quotes. I wanted to let everybody know that we're getting quotes. We have to usually get at least 2-3 quotes, and they have to compare. We have to compare the quotes to make sure that each of the contractors are bidding apples to apples. And so we haven't gotten 2 quotes back for Hinchin Avenue from North Star to Winters Road. That's approximately 850 linear feet. So we should be presenting some of those quotes back to the commission at the next meeting on January 28th to pave Winters Road. In addition, we're also got some asphalt millings ordered in Public Works, and we're going to start putting those down on some of the dirt roads, the dusty roads, to see how that works. We've already done a different application on Gully, but this time we're just going to spread a little bit over the dirt to try to cover up some of if that helps with the dust issues. We would like to go ahead and continue that once we see how that lays out on the roadways. But we don't want to go and do it all on, half of the town and have to take it back up either. So we are going to start putting down some of those asphalt millings as well. But then we'll be able to compare the cost of the millings versus the paving. I've also gotten some complaints recently about traffic for the Briley Farms development project coming through town. I will say we've reached out to the developer. We're going to try to direct traffic down Jefferson Avenue. Jefferson is actually a private road, dirt road section north of the West Orange Trail. So we couldn't just direct them down, tell them to go that direction. We're going to put out some signs on Oakland Avenue about a construction entrance. However, the residents that live in town here must realize that these are public roads. They are public. They are open to everyone, has a right to travel on the roads, the highways, and the paths that are meant for public use. So, but we are going to try to do our best. The developer's going to work with us to try to tell the subcontractors coming to Briley Farms to utilize Jefferson. The law enforcement can't enforce, has no legal recourse to tell somebody they can't use a public road if it's the semi or what have you to come through town. It's just how it is, but we're going to do our best, and the developer's going to work with us to try to direct that traffic down Jefferson. Part of growth, part of improving development, is part of construction. But we're doing our best, I can assure you. Also, on a positive note, we've received the 2024 Tree City USA status once again. I just got that notice several weeks ago. And this is given out by the Arbor Day Foundation. And the recognition is a testament to the community's commitment to planting, care, and celebration of trees. We're also going to order some oak trees. Students at UCF have put together a GIS system of our sidewalks and some of the areas that we're lacking oak trees. So they're going to come to one of our meetings to show the town what they've been working on behalf of our residents at no cost. And that's a partnership with the University of Central Florida. And then we're going to turn around and order some oak trees to plant back some of the trees that we know we lost during the hurricanes. Developers are required to plant back more trees than they take down, but we're going to plant even more trees. So we're definitely going to be a tree city, and we're going to do our best to continue keeping Oakland full of oak trees. And then my last note here that I have is Jessica Lovejoy, our community outreach director. Last day with the town will be the end of January. Yeah, I know. She's done an outstanding job, I think, at bringing the community together, and her staff has made our events just that much better for the town, giving us she's going to be very hard to replace. And even the events that we've had at the Arts and Heritage Center have been excellent, and it's very diverse and very rich and part of the culture that we have here in the town of Oakland. She's definitely enhanced that. She's going to go on to other professional opportunities, and we'll wish you best in your future endeavors. And it is sad that you leave, but we got to find somebody to replace you. But it's going to be very hard to do so. Thank you for what you've done for the town. And with that being said, that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. All right. Nathan or Mike, you got anything good going on? Yeah. All right. Deputy Chief? Oh, you got to speak in the mic. Hand the mic back there. All right. Push the green button, please. There you go.
We wanted to thank you, the town manager and the commissioner for coming to the promotions the other day. It was very appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Jessica?
Don't cry.
You still have to come to every rest of the commission meeting.
I will miss this. For the record, Meet Your Mayor is February 5th at 6 p.m. in the Arts and Heritage Center. And Oakland Heritage Day is January 25th. I will still be here for that, and I'm looking forward to it. If you haven't signed up for the 5K, it's a free 5K by Healthy West Orange on the West Orange Trail, and that's still available to sign up. And then we'll be having fun all day in Spear Park. That day, also be sure to stop by the Arts and Heritage Center. Lynn has done a wonderful job working with local artists David Minicello and Joe Warren for our new exhibit, which is Our Disney Journey and Beyond. Joe and David are local Disney Imagineers. And so they'll be talking about some of the lands that they've created at Disney and have influenced, as well as displaying their arts. And then lastly, one of the final things that, our team was able to kind of set into motion is a partnership with Uptown Stitch, who's a local Oakland business. And we're going to be unveiling some official town merchandise for the community to be able to buy as well. So look for that at Oakland Heritage Day. And then Uptown Stitch will also be opening and unveiling some of the merchandise in store too for you to purchase. And that's it. And thank you so much.
You're welcome. I think you will be missed. So yes. Elise, anything for you? No? Okay. All right. Anybody on the, Joseph, you got anything?
December 11, I was in Tampa at a Florida League of Cities board meeting, and they talked about a lot of the programs they plan on doing. But also, I mentioned this before, they really have a lot of financial programs. I know we do the pension. And so when I was at the meeting, they mentioned they was going to reach out to Andy to offer or to share with him all the other financial programs that we have. And Andy and I spoke today. He mentioned I didn't tell him that they were going to call him, but he mentioned to me today that the financial lead director of that department has reached out to Andy. He's going to come to the town to really share with the town's leadership some of the financial programs they have that can really, some we can benefit from, some we can't. But at the end of the day, Andy has been in contact with the Florida League of Cities, and hopefully that can, offer us some other financial ways to benefit our town. I know the insurance piece wasn't a benefit for us this last cycle, but there are some other programs that they are doing for different cities and towns and counties throughout the state. So they're going to meet soon, and so I just want to bring that up. When I met with them back in December, they mentioned they would be. Thank you.
Sal?
I just want to mention Rick Pollan, our commissioner, who's retired, that I also want to, I mentioned Mike and I mentioned Joseph and what he's done. And thank you, Mayor, for what you've been doing this year. But I want to thank, on behalf of Rick Pollan, his years of service to the community also as well, and all the years that he sacrificed for our town. I think he's got close to 13 years as a commissioner, 14 years, plus like another 6 or 7 years in different committees. So he's got at least 2 decades through OMP, what he's done and everything he's done for Dark Skies and what he's done for our town. So I just want to thank, on behalf, I know we have some plans for him, but I just want to say it to the public right now that are here. So.
Thank you. You're good? Okay. Got a few things here. What we've been working on, what I've kind of been working on with town staff over the last couple months here. First thing I want to say is Deputy Chief, yes, it was a pleasure for Commissioner Satterfield and Andy and I to attend that ceremony. If you guys aren't aware, there was a promotion ceremony for 4 officers on the Oakland Police Department. 2 of those were promoted to corporal and 2 were promoted to sergeant. I think Kurt Cruz was promoted to sergeant, Barry Strakowski was promoted to sergeant, Anthony Edwards promoted to corporal, and Justin Gao promoted to corporal. It's a good thing that that happened. It provides that leadership conduit for that next generation or that next group to step up. So we do appreciate everything our police department does for our town and for our residents. So, thank you very much for thinking of us and inviting us to that ceremony. Thank you. Also, I've, for the commission's board's sake, I've asked staff to start the process. We looked at this probably a couple months ago and gathering and engaging land planning and engineering services to start our streetscape program that we looked at probably back in 21. We did a conceptual plan down Tubb Street. So town staff has started to work with engaging a land planning and engineering firm to see those plans come true. And once we get information gathered for that and details are provided, we're going to bring that back to share with the residents and commission for input and what we're doing on that. Friday, well, let me address this here. An issue as January 1, there was a homeless camping ban that was placed. I don't know if everybody knows about this. So it's a homeless camping ban in public and in town. Fortunately for us, we don't have those other issues. We don't have those issues, but other municipalities. And I think Commissioner McMullen talked about this intensely at one of our meetings about the homeless and how to handle that. So last Friday, I met with Andy, town manager, chief, and deputy chief, and asked them about this ordinance that came in and what provisions the town has in place for something like that. And what it covers is camping in public, which means if a homeless person is sleeping or camping in the public park or in front of town hall or on the sidewalk in a public right of way, it's against the law for them to do so. So talking to the chief and deputy chief, what their policy is number one, it's not an automatic arrest policy. It's to go and talk to those people, try to get them some help and provide them resources for that help. Each officer, my understanding, is equipped with this resource, which is this guide right here that they'll give them. Inside this guide is everything to how to find transportation, how to find housing. Some of these homeless, they have pets, so some shelters will not take them. But in here, they have shelters that will take you if you have a pet. Now, this only applies to public property. It does not apply to private property. So what you may see in the woods on 50, as you think about the town of Oakland, we're the last little piece with woods along Highway 50. Everything in Winter Garden or Claremont is developed. So everybody's migrated here into town. So the only enforcement that can be done on the private property is if the private property owner calls and asks for assistance at that point in time. Other than that, there's not really much you can do on there. I know that some people have gone to try to offer assistance. I know Matthews Hope goes there to offer assistance to them as well. Some churches go and try to offer assistance to them. Homelessness is probably not so much a crime as it is maybe a mental illness in some instances. So any type of assistance that we can give. And I'm glad that our police department has seen that, and that's the route they're willing to take at this time. Friday afternoon, I had the pleasure, myself, Andy, Mike Parker, and Nathan, we had the pleasure of meeting our new state representative, Leonard Spencer, on Friday, who came in for a visit with us for a couple hours and asked about what the town needs and what he can do to help us out up in Tallahassee. So Mike was very prepared in providing him, and we overwhelmingly told him that, can you help us out with our infrastructure, our septic to sewer in areas that would really tremendously help this town grow, and both environmentally and also economically as well. If my argument to them was that we're sitting at the hill of Lake Apopka that's below us, and everybody here is on septic tank. And as that stuff starts leaching down the hill, it's going to hit the lake. And as much money has been spent on trying to rebuild that lake and clean that lake up, you would think that in the state's infinite wisdom, they'd say, okay, let's just try to give you some dollars to try to help stop that from happening. So that's kind of what we're pushing for. Plus, like I said, it really opens up the door on the commercial viability in the town to really help grow the town is what it does. A restaurant and a business is hard pressed to open up in town on septic tank. Sewer, absolutely. A septic tank, very hard to do. So Mike did a great job, and Nathan presenting this plan. And if anybody's interested, I believe these are available. If anybody wants to look at anything here, each one of you guys have one. And it talks a little bit about the areas that they would, the grant is going to, and also the funding we'll be asking for to help get that together. So with that, I think that's it, unless anybody else got anything else. So nobody said anything? Okay. Joseph?
So I usually end the meeting by saying if all hearts and minds are satisfied, but I want to thank Kurt and Carlos for their last comments. We need to change the culture of this town. We can't paint the picture that this town was headed in the wrong direction. We got to figure out how we can work together to ensure this town heads in the wrong direction, in the right direction. So my heart and mind is not satisfied tonight, but as we adjourn tonight, I hope we can get to a point where we all can work together. So thank everyone for their comments. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Carlos. And let's all work together. It's 9:16. Let's adjourn.